the question about aging and Parkinson's and working out.
Mm-hmm.
Where where do you where do you draw the line of working out
You
to
mean being measured?
being measured, but the what's it,
High
high
intensity.
intensity uh, workout for someone. Uh,
So I have a variety of clients. So your cocktail changes as you change, as your it changes as your Parkinson's changes. All right. So and that's going to happen for everybody, and it's different for everybody depending on your symptoms too, regardless of what stage you're in. Then that's the beauty of the cocktail plan. It's custom. It has to be. And so someone like uh Joe, who had PSP, he had to work a lot harder with that um diagnosis than someone with Parkinson's. And so all these variables are so different depending on what you're dealing with. I have one of my most badass people that I train is a woman who is 79 years old. You'll read about her in my new book. She just had her best in 6 years, her best assessments ever. She blew them off the chart.
mm,
Blew them off the chart.
wow.
So, but she has been very consistent in her workouts for 6 years. She cycles 3 times a week. She does strength training 2 times a week, and she does balance work.
Mm.
But she can sit in a chair and throw a medicine ball 6 pounds, 9 feet.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
She can cycle 80 RPM with no problem.
But
And she's 79.
yeah, and she worked up to that, Kristine. So you said you.
Yeah. I mean, when she started 6 years ago, she was 50 RPM,
Mm.
you know, started with 10 minutes on the bike, just like everybody else.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not like, but she's consistent.
Mm.
She doesn't miss. You know what I mean? She's very consistent in her workouts. She's very consistent, and she had a broken hip in those years. She's had to work back a few times when life threw in some things, but
Well, I guess that's my question. The setbacks, people have ACLs and
yeah,
Knee
knee replacements.
replacement or hip replacement.
yeah. I mean, I guess anything is possible. I mean, age doesn't define us,
Mhm.
is my point with it. But if intensity, you're going to do whatever intensity you can manage at whatever point you're going throughout your journey. We do what we can do, and that's what you're going to do, right?
Right. At least as long as but I guess it was, how do you know? There's a great quote
Are you going to do the dirty Harry quote?
yeah. Man's got to know his limitations. How do
His
you,
limitations.
how do you,
Oh, but don't let those limitations limit you if or you'll never find out what's possible.
Well, I think you have to know your body, I guess is
Yes,
probably the
your
best.
body will let you know what you can and can't do, which is why Dr. Corcus and I go back and forth on this all the time.
Yeah.
I'm the great believer of intervals. 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, start little, build over time. He's the believer in, everybody should just be able to go out. And I'm like, That's because you work with stage one, what is it? Nobody's on medicine people. I work in the real world.
Where the majority is. Yeah.
I work out here in the real world where we work in intervals and work our way up. We will get there when we're ready. But I meet people where they're at, and but we find, your 30 seconds here, and you just slowly over time, you find, oh my gosh, it gets easier. I think that's the thing that surprises people, is that it gets easier. If you just, you got to be like the turtle, right? It's consistent, and it's just doing it however many days you're going to do it. 1 day a week, 2 days, and then it's 2 days a week. And then you're like, oh, can I make it to that? 3 days a week is what we need.
Right.
3 days for that aerobic. And so if you can get there, great. But don't get to the end. All right. Don't think of the end. Think of, where can I start?
You push the water hard. You push water hard, probably, and do you stress diet?
So, the only thing, I don't get into diet as much because that's not my area of expertise.
Right.
When people ask me, I say what I've heard the most is Mediterranean. But what I do wish is that my people would eat more for what they're doing and for their exercise. A lot of them don't eat enough, I don't think. But it's hard because of the medicines.
Right.
Yeah.
If somebody could figure that out for me, I wish that they would tell me, you guys figure that out for people, and then you could write another book on how to eat for Parkinson's and get around your medicines.
Yeah.
And if you could figure out how they could get more protein in their foods, that's the other mystery. How to get more protein.
I've been a long-term vegetarian, and that's made a huge difference in my life.
Yeah, we have noticed, and of course, this is, once again, it's one of those disclaimers that, Karl's not like everybody else, but but there are animal-based proteins are different than plant-based proteins.
Yeah. Well, my daughter's a vegan, so
there you go. Yeah.
She believes that everybody should be eating vegan.
Right. Well, and
we're headed that way.
Yeah, it's a
You're
gut
headed that
thing.
way.
We are. We've slowly. Well, Dr. Bloom has made some comments about the impact of dairy in diet.
Oh yeah.
Lori Michelin has done the same thing as well, and but we do notice that the plant-based proteins, if Karl eats protein closer to the medication, the plant-based ones don't seem to have as much of an impact as animal.
This was my question. I've been waiting to ask somebody.
But that's anecdotal.
Okay. But I haven't been able to find somebody to ask this question, because I was like, does plant-based protein work better?
I find
it just absorbs. From what we've noticed in the medication absorption. But that also goes to all the other questions that go along with that, which is how the gastric emptying, how fast is the whole GI tract going, which is a whole nother, there's so many things that are on that particular realm as well. But yes, we've noticed a difference. And sometimes it's like you were talking about smoothies. I think sometimes even a liquefied plant protein might be different than a solid base plant protein. Nuts different than like a tofu or soy is different than some of the nut based proteins. So I think you can dive into this whole thing, and you gotta find what works for you and kind of experiment a little bit about it.
That's really interesting.
They said try something. At least try something. If you don't like it, try something. You can go to try something else, but give it a shot. If it's not invasive and not too expensive, you learn something about yourself.
Right.
And I think a lot of times, unfortunately, when people first get diagnosed and you're in that period of kind of shock and trying to figure out what to do with you have to take it in little chunks. You can't kind of
Yeah.
tackle everything all at the same time.
Mhm.
You have to be willing to experiment. I mean, a lot of the lessons that we learned, we share those openly via Karl's blog or through the interviews we do, or just meeting
Mhm.
people at conferences or exercise groups. And then that kind of social sharing camaraderie thing gets going, and you hear someone
Right.
say, "Oh, I tried this and this kind of worked for me." Not supplements that, are,
Yeah.
paying a lot of money, but
Yeah.
you just hear little things and then you're like,
Yeah.
I should give that a try and see.
Yeah.
I know I've tried it as being the cook in the family, trying different things and trying different timing or
Mhm.
different combination of foods versus, but experimenting is always something that we, I keep, it's so hard to get everything in,
Mhm.
but we do focus on hydration, which I know you're big about that with your clients and your groups, that people do need to stay hydrated to keep everything.
Yeah.
And
It
vitamin
is
D.
important.
And vitamin D is so important.
Yeah, vitamin
For everybody. Yeah.
D.
But yeah.
So, Kristine, what would you recommend for someone who may not have a cycling program in their area or rock steady boxing? What do you recommend? And
So you can do like, so there's online things. Some people, I'm trying to think, what can you do online? Um, I mean, some people have things like treadmills in their home. Some people have bikes in their home, and there's classes you can watch uh, on your iPad or things like that. I've had people. There's biking. There are biking, Parkinson's biking classes online, and what else can you do? So, I don't know that many people. And there's swimming, there's elliptical, there's of all the aerobic activities you can do.
well, and of
Go
course,
ahead.
yeah, I guess there's the Peloton folks. I don't know much about that, but I know that they have that's interval training, if I'm understanding
Mhm.
correctly. So then you're at least getting the intervals, and I guess you could work up to that, and that's, not specifically a Parkinson's biking class, but
Yeah,
still at
yeah,
least get the high interval
yes.
sort of
And at the beginning, you're just going to be building up that base work anyway.
right,
So, and you can do your own, create your own intervals. Intervals aren't hard. It's like, you're going to go 50 RPM on the bike. It'll go to 50. You'll go on, off, on, off. So it's not like it's any, great science of any kind.
right.
It's just kind of changing the interval times.
I'm here.
Question.
Um, I always thought that things like Dance 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 and interactive video games have merit as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna, this is where everybody goes. So everything else is what's called sports activities.
Mhm.
All right, so there's science proven, cycling, treadmill, aerobic, that's all aerobic. Then we go to the second rung, Parkinson's specific work.
Mhm.
That's your dance, 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 even rock steady boxing, and um, everything else basically
Mhm.
out there. All right. And the reason why is because you're not keeping your heart rate at a steady state. Okay. So unless if you're, and you have to be a really good boxer to be boxing straight 30 minutes, keeping that heart rate. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas rock steady boxing is like a circuit work. You're doing boxing, you're doing strength training, you're doing Parkinson's specific work, it's a great circuit class. But few people, I train a guy in Ireland online. Now I train him 30 minutes straight boxing. Now that counts for level 1, if you can do that. But I don't know too many people that can do that. So when they say aerobic, they're talking aerobic. Your heart rate staying pretty steady up there.
What would you say is your, there's so many big points, but what is the one thing you want folks to kind of take away from our conversation today?
Well, I think that, my biggest thing is when I talk to people and I explain to them what exercise can do for them, that that is when they have hope. When so many people don't know what exercise can do. So many people don't know that exercise can reduce symptoms, that it is the only thing that can help with the slow the progression of the disease, that medicine can't, that surgery can't, and that it right now it's the only thing that can help them slow the thing down. And it just still boggles my brain that so many people don't know this. And so I want people to understand that fact, and that with the minimum of 3 times a week, a little bit of effort, and even if they just briskly walk with a little huffing and puffing going on, that they can potentially do a lot to improve the quality of their life. And so that is what I really want people to know, and to let other people with Parkinson's know that, because that's a really important message. It's a really important message that still so many people don't know. And the other thing is that there's a lot of talk out there about that, physical activity is the same as exercise, and that, oh, I can just garden or walk my dog, or that's the same thing as the exercise, and it's not. And the only reason I say I bring that up is because when they hear that and then they go out and try to do that and then nothing happens, then they stop what they think is exercising. And then they think, oh, well, exercise didn't do anything for me. And that's sad.
Yeah.
That this wrong information that they hear everywhere, oh, just go do this or just go do that. And that is exercise, but it's not. So there's certain things. Dr. Albert says, if we want exercise to work like medicine, there is a few things we have to do in order for it to truly, behave like medicine. So we have to learn what those things are and then implement them. So that's my message.
And Kristine, I couldn't have wrapped it up better. Well, I couldn't do it at all because that's not me. But this is Kristine's book. It is a great, and I'll show the back that has the cocktail too. Kristine, I thank you for pulling all this information together. This is a really concise book that really shows the science behind the reasons why exercise is so important. As you said, the three times a week.
It's a resource.
It's a wonderful resource, not just for the person with Parkinson's or the care partner or family, but also for the exercise professionals, the healthcare professionals, the allied health professionals in our community, anybody who's working with someone with Parkinson's in an exercise capacity. You've really done an incredible job pulling all that together and putting the science behind it. And we're looking forward to your next book, which, is going to have even more of a practical, actionable I mean, there's actionable stuff inside this book, but you're going a little farther with the next one. So
And hopefully it would be easier to do and not as stressful.